Krusty here again today, and I'm just gonna be truthful and honest here with y'all today. I would love to be a professional like all the ones that I listen to online about all the professional videos about how to help people get free of narcissistic abuse, and the ones that talk about codependency and all these books that I read. But I can give a lot of workbooks on here and different things, and unfortunately I'm having some problems making some of these little video apps for editing and stuff. Hopefully I'll be getting a laptop soon. And then I can really do that stuff again. But so for now, I guess I'm gonna talk, and I guess it was meant to be, or it wouldn't be happening. So I always look at it that way when I think something is really going wrong, because usually, there really is usually a good purpose for everything that does happen. Unfortunately, even some of the bad, more painful things, like letting go of people in your life that have the narcissistic patterns, or like not just narcissists, like if you're dealing with any kind of extreme controlling behavior type of people. But I talk about narcissists here because it's especially intense in my own life. And when I'm in recovery process right now, I do see some borderline in myself, which is right up there in the cluster Bs along with narcissism. Although I see a lot of codependency too. So like, it is so hard when you're doing the recovery work. I mean, I know that there probably does lay a promise in the end, when I finally can learn and grow and accept the fact and be able to take in and go beyond the denial, especially when you are still left dealing with people that are like that, and breaking free from them. Like the going no contact, I've been working on that for so long. But it's been kind of just a gradual process too. I mean, it's definitely not overnight. I've said that before, and it can be tiring and exhausting, because they can have so much control and power over another person. And like myself, I find that letting go of my past relationship with my beau, which I learn every day a little bit more about who they are and how they are and why it's so hard to break free. But it can also be very intense in the end when, okay, say you're stuck in a relationship right now with a narcissist or cluster B type person. And you've started learning a great deal for quite a while now, that you've started learning about the narcissist and what a narcissist is. And it just blows your mind, I mean, it just like, what in the world? This is who I've been living. This is the type of crappy, disturbed type of person, pathological type person I've been living with for how many years now, or dealing with that family member for how many years now. And they constantly just keep me down and in pain, and constantly fighting and the fighting, and until they can really just whip you down to the state of just exhaustion, and keep you down into that place. But once, a person can really start learning about how and why, it's really life-changing. Now, to get away from this person is, I think, something almost completely different altogether. One thing is learning about them, okay? And then the next thing is the getting away from them. And it can be so intense. Because a narcissist, they're nothing to mess with. A cluster B, they are nothing to mess with. But you're just so used to dealing with them. I mean, probably all your life, because one of your parents was probably one of them, and then your other parent was probably like an empath or a codependent, or maybe just at least there was at least one really severely controlling person that helped in the raising of you. And that's why you're so comfortable with it. And then you go out and you pick partners. Like I myself find that I pick partners just like my dad. And, growing up, it was like I felt and I saw this hideous side of who he was. But then, when you accuse them of it, of course, they're going to beat you down further and say, hey, I'm a really great person. And everybody around me believes it too, because I've made them believe this about me. And if you're going to think differently, that something's wrong with you, then you're going to get either punished or, like a scapegoat, out the door. So, and then you get blamed for all of whatever it was. And then, then you get all that toxic crap on top of you as well. But either the case, you learn to play along and somehow learn to believe all that stuff that they said, that they were actually great people and there's nothing wrong with them, or consequences. So it is kind of a dangerous place to go into, like maybe when you're keeping quiet at first and learning, because you probably learned to be quiet all your life in the first place, and to hide the fun things that you were doing, or the good times that you were having away from them. Or it just kind of goes like that. So in my case, learning and learning and learning, and just gradually kind of like sneaking and stepping away from them, like, which is the case of my family, where I finally got a place of my own, thank God. And really, when you begin like that, you really do start creating a safety net for yourself, a place where you can come to and just get that feeling of safety, which you're gonna need. You're gonna need it on a daily basis, where you can, after going out into the world, okay, and with PTSD symptoms, you're going to feel like everybody might be out to get you, everybody's dangerous, and you might feel like everybody's out to get you, especially the narcissist in them. So, but what's really great is that you can start reassuring yourself that really it's not all like that, because when you can come home and be with your pet or your children or whatever, or you are going to feel a sense of safety that maybe for the first time in your life. And that is definitely a case for me. I know at 42, I'll be 42 tomorrow. Thank you. It's just like, this place is my oasis, I make it real peaceful. I put candles everywhere. I take baths regularly with Epsom salt. This is my oasis. I mean, I come here, I meditate, I relax, I play with my little dog, and unfortunately my cat just escaped. But, this is mine, and nobody can come in here and hurt me. And so that's a really good place to start, But it might still take an effort to get to that point. But really, it is a good point. And I am still at the point right now, though, where everything is exhausting. I mean, after coming out of the drugs and the mold sickness and everything, and trying to crawl out of that place that they are in, you know, and you don't even realize, but you just know that everything sucks. Everything sucks, and it just feels like a nightmare most of the time, or a large percent of the time. Um, that's the place that I'm kind of getting out of right now, and I'm working very hard at. But when you start ending these relationships, they might not want to let you go. I mean, and then there's a part of you, and I was learning today why. One video I watched was about obsessing over the narc and not being able to let go. And I think it's even harder yet when someone comes from a sexual abuse, when they were a child, or, when they've been, abused like that, more as children. Why that is, I've been asking myself that a lot. Like, why am I still holding on to my ex? Because, sometimes I will still find myself just wanting him more than anything else, and my mind just, like, creates this fantasy, like, well, this is normal. This is comfortable for me. And, he's not so bad because we have a lot of great moments together. But, then again, another fight comes up when I try to get away from him, or it might come to that point where they finally start seeing that what you're learning, and when you kind of start standing up to it more, well, they're not going to want that. They're going to pull away from that. They're going to be disgusted by that, like, ew, you're catching on to the ways that I'm trying to control you. I can't have that, because as a narcissist, I need that control, or it's just not going to work for me. And that's how they are. I mean, if they cannot have that constant control and that source that you're constantly giving to them because you don't have any boundaries and you don't know how to say no, and you're going to please them in any way that you can and make them as happy as you can. And the amazing thing about that, and that I find myself, is that is all codependency, number one. And the obsessiveness and everything. But even more than what I've been learning lately is how much my world and a person's world has to revolve around that narc. I mean, just like, here's him right in the middle, here's, the world, and then here's me having to constantly revolve around that world and to please every little thing and to take care of his every little emotional need and just to worry about him and all these things and try to take care of him. And even when they're trying to push you away, I mean, that obsession can still be huge, and the letting go of that. Just when you think, you might have learned how to not be a codependent anymore, I tell you, it is not that easy. And the more trauma you've had in your past, the harder it is to let that go. Because a lot of times you're not even realizing when you're still with that person, they not only are they going to hook you in right away, but they are going to keep you there. And the way that they keep you there is by punishment, hurting you. I mean, you can feel it when they do it. By comments that they say or things that they do, toward you that are extremely painful. And that is how they keep you there. That is how they keep you right there. And they just keep you in that state and just constantly spank you. And that's it. And the thing is that our minds just have to twist around that, because that's how our minds have always been. We thought that the relationships with these people were normal. you know? But the struggle is real at the time, but it doesn't have to be real. There comes a time when, like right now, I feel myself kind of pushing out of that. And just basically kind of like right now, as this man, as my ex, is pushing me away. Do I see it more now than I did? And luckily, I've been talking to some support. Like I've been calling the Royal We, Kevin, the Royal We on his YouTube videos. Um, you can give him like a small donation, or you can talk to him for free. I've been talking to him like once a week, just for a little while, and just the support is like it's like having a friend, because a lot of times you can end up alone, really alone when the narcissists around you and the families or whatever put you in this place where if they can't have you, then they're not going to let anybody have you, and then all of a sudden you're stuck in like isolation. And when you're coming out of those relationships, you can fall into that isolation. But for me, man, I mean, it's so painful that I have to get some support. You really do, to go on. You just kind of got to stay up, 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 up. Like, do things that uplift you. Like, go out, go for walks, go get a tattoo if you want, go pick some flowers, go to your garden. Just, you just got to keep yourself up, 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 especially when you're coming away from them. Or even when you're with them, you still have to pick yourself up, 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 and find ways to go do that. And it's probably not going to be with them, unfortunately. It's going to be with other people or doing other things. And you just have to keep distancing from that person. And that's what I've been doing with my ex for a long time. And it really is a process. And then, but the real wake up calls, and where you really fall into, like me, it has to really kind of hit me on the head. Like, I'll tell you, yesterday I went over to my ex's house, and I go for like, it's falling into like 2-week intervals now, where I wait for 2 weeks, and then like all of a sudden pop, I'll go over and see him. But I know that he's sick, like with the mold stuff. He doesn't take care of himself. He doesn't try to get medicine for it. He's got a bunch of rotten teeth in his mouth. And I don't know if maybe a part of me just goes over to check on him, but it is still that narcissistic hold, that cord or that hook or whatever, because right when I go over there, I fall back into it again, but just not as intense this time. And it becomes a little bit less intense every time. He's going to jail because he's an alcoholic. And it was my birthday this weekend, and there was a part of me that just was like, I called him and he said, well, I might turn myself in early. I said, well, my birthday is Sunday. I said, you don't have to go until next Wednesday. Can you wait? Because it's my birthday. And all of a sudden he seemed to get very angry and hang up the phone. Well, of course, what does that do to the victim? It hurts them so intensely. They themselves can fall into such a rage where it's not really them, because I know that when I'm not around him, I am like a different person. I'm not an angry person anymore. That's so amazing that I'm realizing this. But it's true, because this narcissist or person can really just turn you into an angry, hurting mess. And so, all I could think of and all I could feel was to confront it. And I went over to his house yesterday, and shit really hit the fan. It really did. And I really should have stayed away. But it was like it knocked me in the head again, because I just felt like it was just kind of my way of like, it's just coming to an end, if you've ever like a lot of times when you're with somebody like that, it's never going to last for very long. Most of my relationships with them just end up falling apart after a couple years, and it's been about 3 years. Um, well, I know the last one was with a psychopath, and that lasted longer, but it's just amazing when it kind of does start falling to an end with these people. Um, a lot of times they will never let it end. They will never say, "Oh, okay, it's over, goodbye." Um, they will keep you in like a confused state, and, well, I don't know what I want, things like that. But then, I mean, it gets to that point where they finally just break your heart and you can no longer go on or stand it any longer. If, you can get through that cycle like that. But you know, I know it's been 20 minutes already, but I just wanted to say that it got really bad. I mean, I ended up knocking on his door, and he wouldn't let me in because I left him a nasty message last night too. I told him that he deserved to go to jail and he was just a bad person. And then I tried going back over there and trying to talk to him, and of course he's not going to open the doors. And so I sit there and I tapped on a window, and I tapped on it too hard, and the window broke. And so this is another thing that narcissists will do. Oh my gosh, they've got another chance to punish you and put you in your place. So automatically what this man does, he's put me in jail another time for after I tried to end it with him. He broke a TV that I had bought from him. And it was like a $400 TV. And I chased him down the stairs, and I kind of scratched his back, and he called the cops and put me in jail. And this time I broke the window, and I told him that I would pay for it. I was sorry, because he came out. All of a sudden he had this amazing energy, because he was feeding off of it. He was feeding off me again, getting his source, because I got angry and I reacted. But it was almost like a part of me couldn't stop myself. But again, I see that this is like kind of the end and the breakup. Like, I'm not saying it's good to get angry and bash people's property, because it's not. And this is what was my big learning lesson again, because, well, of course, he got his phone out right away. He said, "I'm calling the cops on you, ha ha ha." And it's kind of like a karmic thing, maybe, because that's kind of what I was doing to him. But I don't know. It can get to that point though, because this man, as I've just lost so much, because a big part was him. I lost my kids. I just lost so many things. But then again, if I didn't have learned all this, I probably would have never learned about narcissism. So I have to kind of thank God a little bit, even though it hurts like so badly. Anyways, I got away, and I called my support group leader at the domestic support group, and I talked to her about it, and she said to call a lawyer, and she gave me the name of one, and I called a lawyer, and they said what was going to happen, because I was really like scared and went into trauma again, like I was going to go to jail. But thankfully, I've been saving money. That's another important thing for victims to do, is to save money. Save as much as you can, put it in savings for safety measures, because you never know when emergencies are going to come up, especially when you're still trying to deal with these people. And so thankfully I have enough money that I probably will have to get a lawyer again and spend some money again for something that it was just another narcissistic fight. I mean, fights can get bad. I know if you all have been there, you might be understanding me right now, that they can get intensely ugly. So it did, but it was so humiliating. And to be rejected like that, just constantly, and not understanding why my need to have him. So learning again today about still how bad my codependency is, and that I still have quite a long ways to go. Maybe could be some advice to others out there that can't understand why they can't seem to break away from it either. It is a process. And like Kevin was telling me today or yesterday, that I do need to go no contact. And I know that, but like it is, this one, I guess I will title this one No Contact is a process, because it really is. So, thanks for listening, and may I give you some peace today as well, and understanding. God bless.